よって思ったから、そんなこと言うのよしなさいって言っといたわよ。
She chattered happily on, swinging a fry back and forth. I had no idea how to respond. I mean, I was surprised to know they'd bothered to badmouth me, but I was even more shocked she'd told them to stop. Why was this person being so nice to me?
しかもあなたお嬢らしいじゃん。だからってファーストフード初めてってちょっと浮世離れしすぎじゃない？お嬢？そう、お嬢。ところでさ、携帯ある？赤外線やろうよ、赤外線。赤外わかった。それは今度にしよう。ひとまず今日は食べなさい食べなさい。ここは私のおごりだから、そのぺったんこたーんとお食べ。どうせ私にはこれぐらいしかおごれないんだし。
I picked up the miserably flat little burger from its bed of wrapping paper and took a large bite. To my surprise, a strong and vibrant flavor instantly filled my mouth. It might not have looked like anything in the photo, but it actually tasted really good.
どうだ、おいしいじゃろ？おいしい。なんで泣いてんの？謎なんだけど。おいしくて泣いてんの？それは大げさでしょ。ゾウさんも大喜びだな。
Michiru cries when she eats burgers, like how Shannon cries when he sees Michiru happy because she's eating burgers. The hamburger was warm. The girl in front of me was kind, and I couldn't stop crying. Not surprisingly, she looked a little astounded, but even so, she laughed. No matter what I did, she'd laugh. After that, she started coming by every day after school, inviting me along to all sorts of different places. Guess she must have really found my complete cluelessness kind of entertaining. One day it was karaoke, the next an arcade, the day after that something else entirely. I got to see a lot of new places and experienced a whole lot of new things. She laughed when I asked that question too. More than anything else, she was a girl who laughed a lot. The places I went with her were always glittering with vivid rainbows of light. When I went back home after we said goodbye, my room looked stale and dismal by comparison. It was like falling into a broken down monochrome world. More and more I spent my time impatiently counting down the hours until our next outing, wishing she'd swoop down and take me out of there. I remember getting off the train with her at some station I'd never visited before and buying matching pencil boxes in a store I never knew existed. After anguishing over my choice for dozens of minutes, I bought her a small hairpin as a present, and I got a pouch in return. It's not the shark pouch, is it? Because that's gonna fuck me up if it is. We traded hair scrunchies, ate ice cream together. The days rolled by like one unbroken dream. Her email address and phone number recorded in my cell phone. I was too scared to send her a message or dial her number, but for some reason just looking at those characters on the screen would bring a smile to my face. One day, the two of us were on the rooftop after school, gazing leisurely out into the setting sun. The girl spoke to me in a quiet voice as the wind blew through her hair.
Michiru は聞いてこないよね。何が？どうして飛び降りようとしてたかってこと。
She was always smiling, so I was taken aback to see her looking so serious all of a sudden. And more importantly, that completely unexpected question left me thoroughly flustered.
だって死にたかったんでしょ？それが全てじゃない。それ以上何を聞くの？そりゃそうだね。飛び降りの理由なんてそれしかないもんね。ミチルは本当に変な子だ。
She is, but it's why we fucking love her, right?
そうかな。そんなことないけど。私はね、 いろいろな人にいろいろなことを聞かれるんだ。進路がどう、彼氏がどう、バイトがどう、手の傷がどう、薬がどう、中に出すとか、もうよくわかんないよ。もっとシンプルな世界で生きていたいと思う。
I didn't really understand what she was saying, so I listened very carefully. I hoped that if I listened carefully enough, I'd be able to pick up at least a little.
結局さ、人間って一人だよね。私のことを心から大事にしてくれる人なんてどこにもいないんだ。最後にはみんな消えていくよね。
I wanted to say that it wasn't true, but I couldn't manage to speak.
嫌われたくないな。だったら先に私から嫌ってやりたい。私から先に消えてしまいたい。なんてね。
Yeah.
ああ、ごめんね。行かなきゃ。
うん。いってらっしゃい。
みちる。
何？
好きだよ。
With those words, she playfully pretend kissed me on the cheek. My face went red as a lobster, and I made strange little "wah" noise.
冗談。またね。
The evening sun was just sinking below the horizon as she left, still laughing. I just stood up there for a while as darkness settled over the rooftop. That cell phone was always ringing. I didn't like it. Every time she was called off somewhere, she'd be quiet and subdued for a long time afterward. Her smiles looked forced. I was worried somebody might be doing cruel things to her, but I wasn't able to ask. Sometimes she'd notice the concern in my eyes and laugh, it's okay, don't worry." But I knew it wasn't. It wasn't okay at all. It was a complete coincidence, but I'd seen a pregnancy test fall out of her bag when she dropped it, and I knew she'd been absent for a while after that. I was afraid asking her something would pop the bubble, destroy what we had, and because of that fear I stayed silent. Even then I knew I was being a coward. She had pulled me up from the bottom of the sea. Shouldn't I return the favor? Take her hand like she did for me? The question tormented me for a very long time. But there was no way I could do what she'd done. I was still a piece of trash. It was only thanks to her that I could laugh a little. It was only thanks to her that I had finally found a little happiness. I couldn't allow myself to misunderstand. This was a temporary world, a dream I'd wake up from eventually. Lingering alone on the roof, I gripped the cold metal handrail tightly. I still didn't have the courage to make the short journey to the other side of that fence. In that respect, too, she was an amazing person. She had so much that I didn't, even the courage to end her own life. For a few days after answering that phone call, she didn't attend school. I was consumed by the fear something bad might have happened to her. Just like when I was a child, I knelt by my windowsill and whispered countless prayers.
どうか守ってあげてください。今まで通り彼女が笑っていられるようにしてください。
At school, I would hesitate in my classroom by the end of the day, thinking she might appear in the doorway like always to drag me off to play. But I was a ghost in that class. I didn't dare make myself conspicuous. I reluctantly trudged up to the roof and waited for her, but no matter how patiently I waited, she never came. There was nothing but the steady passage of time. I did nothing but draw breath in a monochrome world. One day, somebody called my cell phone from a withheld number. I was scared to pick it up, but thinking it might be her, I gathered up all the courage I could muster and pressed the answer button.
もしもし。
On the other side of the line, I heard someone breathing harshly as if in pain. Maybe it was nothing more than a random prank call from a stranger. But in my mind's eye, I saw her on the other end, the person I cared more about anyone else in the world, and I remembered her words on the roof that day. Back then I wasn't able to give her a proper response. I'd left so many things unsaid. I decided to convey those feelings to whoever this might be.
どうして一人だなんて思うの？ちゃんとあなたのこと友達だって思って大切にしてる人がいるよ。それなのにどうして一人でどこかに行こうとするの？あなたは置いていかれるのがどんなに辛いか分かってないんだ。だから勝手にどこかに行こうとしちゃうんだ。失うことは当たり前だよ。誰かに嫌われることだって特別なことじゃない。私、あなたのこと大好きだよ。だからどこにも行かないで。もしあなたが自分のことを幸せだと思うなら、これから幸せになろう。ここに戻ってきて、これからまた一緒に生きよう。
The person on the other end of the line hung up without a single word. It felt as though I had been abandoned. Left behind, I squeezed my cell phone tightly in my hand. Even now, I don't know who called that day. The next time I saw my friend was more than 2 weeks later. By that point, even sitting through class had become unbearably agonizing. I would spend the entire day on the roof waiting for her. And one day, completely out of the blue, she appeared before me once again. I couldn't say a word. There wasn't a trace remaining of the girl who had always laughed so happily. Her school uniform was tattered and torn. Her hair looked like it had been hacked up with a knife. Her face, too, was full of bruises, numerous wounds, as cruel as anything the tutors had inflicted on me, were openly visible even in the most conspicuous of places. Something terrible must have happened, something so terrible I didn't even want to imagine it. It must have lasted a horribly long time. Just like that, there were tears in my eyes. God didn't protect her. I couldn't protect her.
これは私が望んだことだから。彼に捨てられたくなくてしたことだから。
I hadn't asked a question, but she answered it anyway. Those clipped, vague words weren't enough for me to understand what really happened to her, but I knew she was lying. I knew many sad, horrible things must have happened. Things she couldn't possibly have wanted to happen. I slowly approached her and wrapped my arms around her trembling body. It surprised even me. I hadn't expected myself to do such a thing.
ありがとう。みちるは優しいね。
そんなことない。
そんなことあるよ。あなたは優しい子だよ。ねえ、噂は聞いてるでしょ。あれってその通りなんだ。まったくバカだと思うよ。笑っていいよ。
In the classroom, my friend had become the subject of rumors. My classmates said she'd gotten to know a man decades older than her over the internet, a man with wife and children. They said he treated her like his mistress. I said something about photos of her and that man being scattered around the internet, about him making her have sex with other men. One morning, there had been a naked photo of her taped on the top of my desk. I silently tore it off, shoved the paper into the trash can, and immediately left the classroom, slamming the door behind me as loudly as I could. But none of it mattered to me. No matter what sort of things she'd done, it didn't change the fact that she was my best friend.
バカじゃないよ。私はバカだけど。
そうだね。こんな私と仲良くしてくれるなんてバカかもね。
そんなことないもん。
私、学校で嫌われてるんだ。友達もいないの。でもね、誰も相手にしてくれないからあなたと友達になったわけじゃないからね。 あなたのことがいいなって思ったから友達になったんだからね。それだけは本当。でも信じてくれないよね。こんな私だもんね。
I wanted to say, of course I know that, but my voice failed me. I felt as though a chunk of cardboard had wedged itself in my throat. I couldn't force out even a tiny squeak.
私はミチルのこと親友だってちゃんと思ってる。ごめんね、こんなに汚れた友達で。こんなんで本当にごめんね。
I wanted to tell her that she wasn't filthy, but I couldn't say a word. All I could do was hug her tightly.
私、彼のことが好き。彼がしろって言えばどんなことでもした。奥さんと別れてくれるなんて、そんなの最初から嘘だって分かってた。だけどそれでもよかったの。子供ができた時だって迷惑がかかるから病院だってちゃんと一人で行ったよ。
もういいよ、話さなくていい。大丈夫だよ。
他の人としろって言われても頑張った。相手が何人でも何回でも頑張った。でももう限界。だってあの人はもう私のこと好きじゃないから。
She gave me another pretend kiss on my cheek. I closed my eyes to return the gesture. Watching me, she laughed for just a moment. And then she slipped out of my arms, scrapped of her uniform danced in the wind like feathers blown loose from the wings of a bird in flight. She put her hands on the fence and swung herself over to the other side, graceful as a dancer.
ミチル、もう私限界。あの人が私に興味のない世界になんて、あの人が存在しない世界になんていたくない。
Straddling the border between the roof and sky, standing the line that divided this world from the next, she spoke to me. A single thought ran through my dazed brain. It's just like the first time we met.
先に行くね。
I wanted to say, I'll come with you. You're not the only one, you know. I'm not interested in a world without you in it. So if you're going, I'll come along. Just don't leave me behind. Don't leave me here alone. I wanted to tell her, you joked that you loved me once, but I really do love you. That's the reason I'm still alive today. I wanted her to know, but I couldn't speak or move. My body felt like it was encased in concrete. I couldn't lift a single finger.
さよなら、ミチル。
I wanted to say the words, we're best friends, aren't we? Let's die together. But instead I just watched her in silence like a complete idiot. See? I was right. I'm the stupid one after all. I didn't know what to do. I just cowered, and then I tried to scramble over the rail to see her, to see the end. But I couldn't do it. No matter what, I just couldn't get over that fence. I could feel my feet giving way underneath me, and I couldn't keep myself upright. Why hadn't I died with her? I was right from the start. There was never a place for me here. Screwed up big this time, didn't I? Shouldn't have let myself think I could become a normal person. Shouldn't have thought I could find something like happiness. In the end, it vanishes, the bubble pops. In that case, it would have been better never to have gotten my hopes up in the first place. Just like my parents stopped expecting things of me, I should have stopped expecting anything from the world. I heard the wail of a siren and a chorus of horrified screams from far away, and then I fainted, my body still twined awkwardly around that fence. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard a sound like the click of a television set falling silent. I don't know if it was a hallucination or not, but I heard it clearly. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. It seemed I had been unconscious for quite a long time. Normally, there should have been police waiting at my bed to question me, but Dad took care of all that. Probably less out of concern for me than out of his desire to keep this troublesome situation from dragging on. I thought they'd discharge me soon enough, but I discovered that my chronic chest pain had grown dramatically more intense. My body was no longer physically capable of enduring a normal life. The doctor said the shock of losing a close friend may have advanced the progression of the disease, but I didn't really know if that was true. Either way, the pain in my heart was now so agonizing it could at times render me unconscious. My parents had more or less abandoned me, but I guess this miserable new development managed to move them to pity. They decided to send me to America for a heart transplant operation. Personally, I wouldn't have minded just dying, but it seemed like those two wanted to feel like caring parents, so I decided I might as well go along with it. Things moved along behind my back, large amounts of money traded hands, although I didn't know the details. They didn't tell me of anything about the donor. I wasn't particularly interested in either. All they said I'd be receiving the heart of a brain-dead girl of the same age as me. Sure, it must have been a really big, complicated operation, but since that day on the rooftop, I had been feeling like an empty husk. I can't really say it felt like much of an ordeal. They carried me off an airplane to a place where I couldn't understand a word anyone was saying. The doctor put me on under anesthesia and I fell asleep. And before I knew it, I was right back in Japan. It really did seem to happen in the blink of an eye. I didn't have time to feel much of anything. My procedure apparently went about as smoothly as possible. They'd pumped me full of immunosuppressants to prevent my body from rejecting the new heart, but I recovered without any of the sickness that often resulted as a side effect. My reaction to this news was indifferent at best. It didn't even feel particularly strange having another person's organ inside my body. Sometimes I almost doubted whether or not they'd really operated on me. Of course, just touching the scar on my chest was enough to convince myself it had to be true. But really, what difference did it make either way? The lump of flesh inside me constantly thumping away was different from the one that had been there yesterday. That was all. Nobody was going to care, nothing important had changed. My doctor celebrated my remarkable recovery from the surgery as a miracle. So enthusiastic you might have thought my good fortune was his own. My parents had relieved expressions on their faces as well, expressions that seemed to read, "Now we won't have to worry ourselves about this girl anymore." The many months I'd spent in various hospitals came to an end, and I began to recuperate at home. That was when the first signs of the change began to appear. Apparently, I was saying uncharacteristic things to my parents. I was talking and behaving in ways I usually wouldn't, almost as if I'd become a completely different person. My parents were incredulous at first, half suspecting some kind of elaborate prank. But as they knew, I wasn't exactly a practical joker by nature. I wasn't consciously aware of any of this. My alternate personality came at the price of gaps in my memory. Maybe I was sleepwalking, or turning into a different person without even realizing it. A doctor diligently studied my brain activity and asked me all sorts of questions, but in the end he could only offer a vague conclusion. The phenomenon can't be explained by modern medicine. Ultimately, the adults decided that the powerful psychological impact of losing a friend in front of my eyes had led to a change in my personality. But again, I didn't really care either way. I responded with my usual, "Oh, is that so?" The gaps in my memories became frequent, and as time passed, they grew longer and harder to ignore. The other me who showed up in these chunks of lost time seemed surprisingly competent. From what I gathered, she was much more sociable than I was, and a lot better at schoolwork as well. One night I noticed dinner was a little extravagant. Dad smiled across the table and told me it was a reward for trying so hard at my studies lately. It was kind of a strange experience, but I didn't really mind. I mean, if things were going smoothly, who cared if I remembered doing the things I was being praised for or not? As this pattern continued, I found myself acquiring a number of friends as well. Of course, I'd gotten to know them during the blank spaces in my memories, so I didn't really know what sort of people they were. Without any effort on my part, lots of people began greeting me in a friendly tone on the road to school. After saying hi, they'd usually ask, "What's wrong? Not feeling so good today?" Seems like they saw the usual me as the sick Michiru, and the person who showed up in those blank periods and lost time as the normal, cheerful Michiru.
どうした？具合が悪そうだな。
I was lying down in my room one evening when Dad stopped by to check up
らし
on
くな
me.
いぞ。いつもの元気な道を見せてごらん。
Not knowing what else to do, I forced a strange smile onto my
大丈
face.
夫。明日には元気になっているさ。今日のお前とはさよならだな。
Smiling, Dad left the room and closed the door behind him, and all of a sudden an image flashed into my head, an image of a girl frozen in flight. It was the girl who'd left me so abruptly, my best friend who'd abandoned this world. Her final goodbye echoed inside my head, rebounding off the walls of my skull. The word was terribly sharp. Every time it clanged against the bone, it felt as though someone was drilling me open from the inside. Trembling with fear and pain, I dove into my bed in search of refuge. Greasy sweat broke out on my forehead. I swallowed a handful of sleeping pills my doctor had prescribed, pulled the blankets over my head, and squeezed my eyes shut. If I can get past this, I'll become the cheerful Michiru again. I can't break down now. I silently repeated those words to myself, and soon enough drowsiness wrapped me up in a thick, sticky cocoon, blanket and all. Finally, I'll be able to sleep. I'll pull through after all. It was just as those words were running hazily through my mind, just as I stood on the border between reality and dreams, that I heard the unfamiliar voice from outside my blankets.
大丈夫だよ。安心して。心配しなくていいんだよ。
I didn't understand the slightest how this was supposed to be all right. Hearing the voice of some strange woman as I tried to fall asleep really didn't seem to qualify.
私が君の弱さを引き受けてあげる。これからずっと一緒なんだから。うん。親友だろ。
My mouth is so fucking dry right now. The instant I heard those words, I felt my heart pound violently. A sharp, white-hot pain spread from my chest throughout my entire body as if traveling through my blood vessels.
なんて言わないで。私の親友、一人しかいない。一人しかいらない。
I remembered the doctor offhandedly mentioning a phenomenon known as cellular memory. In rare cases, patients receiving heart transplants seem to inherit aspects of the previous owner's tastes or memories. He didn't seem to believe in the idea, but maybe it was real. Maybe that had happened to me. No, this wasn't anything so minor. The former owner's entire personality had slipped inside me, complete and distinct from my own, and now she was talking to me, declaring herself my best friend. I wasn't about to put up with that. Another best friend was the last thing I wanted.
あなたなんて大嫌い。勝手なこと言わないで。
Throwing off the covers, my pulse pounding in fear of my own body, I shouted at the disembodied
大
voice.
丈夫だよ。私が助けてあげるから。助けてなんて欲しくない。私を助けられるのはあの子だけなの。
I couldn't even tell if this was reality or some insane nightmare. My terror escalated into frenzy. I ripped out clumps of my own hair, bit my own arms, and kicked things all over the room until my feet bled. But it wasn't enough. I grabbed a box cutter from my desk, grasped it tightly in my hands, and listened carefully, trying to figure out where the voice was coming from. The voice was the cause of this pain. It flowed throughout my body with the blood thumping out of my heart, bringing agony with it. I had to get that voice out of my body. I had to, or I was going to go crazy. With that thought, I cut at my wrists with the blade, trying to drain the voice out of me along with my blood. But no matter how my arm bled, the voice remained securely inside my body. In that case, I had no choice. I had needed to uproot it directly. I needed to get rid of that foreign entity pulsing away inside me. I pointed the blade at my own chest and stabbed as hard as I could. It wasn't the sharpest blade, but it broke the skin easily enough. Slowly, it gouged its way through my flesh. Just a little further, I'd reach my heart. The invasion would be over soon. I'd get rid of the voice. I felt relief washing over me. But just then, I smelled that distinctive mixture of cigarettes and strange women, and realized that my father had entered the room. Before I knew it, my room had become a disaster scene. The shattered and torn remnants of my belongings stained blood, dark red with splashes of flesh. The box cutter fell from my hands and hit the ground with a dull thunk. The sound abruptly brought me back to reality. Dad's familiar face was so contorted that he looked like an entirely different person. I had to smile. I had to reassure him. But different words came out of my mouth.
Papa. 私狂っちゃったの?
Dad hugged me closely for the first time in many years, but it was very different from that girl's embrace. Even though he was holding me close, I could feel a vast chasm looming between us. That very night, I was admitted to a new hospital. Not that I had any choice in the matter. It was a kind of building that has iron bars on every window, even though you could only crack them open a few centimeters anyway. It was very quiet here. All of the patients were tranquil and sedate. Sometimes I felt as though I'd wandered into some forgotten corner of the afterlife. They told me that people suffering from illness of the mind were gathered here, but I never saw anyone thrash around violently or scream or rant about phantoms. Everyone had a content, vaguely dopey little smile on their faces. For the most part, they passed the days quietly watching television. There were times when I found those constant, unchanging smiles frightening, but I got the idea soon enough. Basically, it was a place where you could live without getting tangled up in your emotions. You could pass the time peacefully, only thinking about pleasant things. To put the opposite spin on it, in the place you weren't allowed to think about anything else. When they let us outside for a walk, the metal shackles that usually bound my legs were removed. In exchange, they looped a rope around our waists. All the patients were tied together on that one length of rope like children pretending to be a train, even though they were all grown up now. I always thought that was kind of silly. The medicine they gave me there made my mind feel pleasantly clear. The other personality didn't emerge. That eerie voice didn't crawl through my veins like a swarm of insects. It was like living inside a tightly closed music box. Boring, but very peaceful. I stayed in there for a long time. I didn't talk with anyone. For the most part, I just stood quietly by the wall, trying not to stand out, trying to shrink myself down to the point where the world would overlook me. But one day I caught my chains on the leg of a chair and tripped to the ground. That had never happened before, so I wasn't sure what to do. Fortunately, no one insulted me or yelled angrily. Instead, a few patients nearby put their hands to their mouths and giggled softly in amusement. I liked hearing that sound, and lying there on the ground, an idea occurred to me. Maybe if I fell on purpose, I could make people laugh again. The next day I tripped again. Again, the people who noticed laughed a little. The day after that, I deliberately spilled a glass of water, and once more I heard the pleasant sound of laughter. Emboldened by my success, I
勝
spoke.
手にこぼれるなんて変なコップ。
More people laughed than before. Their voices were warm and gentle. I'd found a way to make myself useful. By devoting myself to clowning around, I could at least make others smile. From that day on, I acted out a sillier version of myself, an exaggerated, funny caricature of me, and I sustained myself on a sugary sweet diet of laughter. Alright then, from now on, I'd go with this way of life. The pretending didn't bother me. It was worth it to do something for other people. It was worth it to have something to live for. Nobody had appreciated me before because I wanted them to like the real me. Problem was the real me wasn't any good, so I might as well just pretend. All I had to do was act out the most convenient role, force out the most convenient emotions, become someone who put a smile on people's faces. Even if that meant the real me disappeared entirely, I didn't care. I was a little anxious about whether someone as stupid as me could even act convincingly, but I had no choice but to try. Among the patients, I gained a niche as the weird but funny girl. As I grew into the role, I became more lively. In time, the doctors decided I was on my way to a full recovery and politely ejected me from the hospital. I'd lost my place in the world, but my parents soon found me another. Apparently, they'd heard somewhere or other that this special school that only gathered students with complicated circumstances. I enrolled in Mihama Academy soon after my return. I kept right on playing the clown in this school. I thought it would be nice to keep everyone laughing. In fact, that's just how everything turned out. The days rolled past pleasantly enough, for the most part. But every once in a while, I'd abruptly remember that this too was nothing but an artificial make-believe world. When everyone laughed together, I wasn't smiling from the heart, and over time, my uncertainty grew. I didn't want to lose what I'd found here, but I didn't want to grow dependent on it. The more I pretended to be someone I wasn't, the less I understood what I wanted to do. Did an imposter like me really belong here in the first place? It felt like I was living in an antlion's pit. There was nowhere else for me to go, no way out of the rut. All I could do was struggle not to fall.
それが私なの。
I really need to end this for today. I'm gonna keep going until we get a break. Hopefully the break will come here soon. But I need to breathe and think for a bit. So hopefully we'll get there. Having delivered her lengthy story in one interrupted sitting, Michiru finally pauses, her face lined with fatigue.
薬で自分の知らない自分を抑えて人の顔色を伺って生きているのが私。そんな私を抱いてくれてありがとう。ごっこでも恋人のふりでもしてくれてありがとう。私 幸せなのかもって勘違いしそうになっちゃったけど、全部嘘だって分かってるし大丈夫。ユージに抱きしめてもらってる時、キスしてもらってる時、今が終わらなければいいのにってずっと考えてた。でも終わっちゃうんだよね。いつかは離れちゃう。怖いね、それって。
Scratching my head, I search for the words Michiru needs to hear. They prove surprisingly easy to find. What you need right now isn't this fatalistic pessimism. It's medical treatment. A visit to the hospital would be a good start. Your problem is too complex to face on your own. For now, let the professionals figure it out, and after they found the cause, work slowly and surely towards getting better. I think I understand the general outline of the situation. The memories of her organ donor have influenced Michiru's mind, or so she thinks at least. Not exactly a common phenomenon, but apparently not completely unprecedented. Whatever the case may be, what the girl needs is appropriate treatment in an appropriate setting.
どうしても病院に行かなくちゃダメ？
Yeah, I'd strongly recommend it. I doubt they'll keep you there longer than a week for an examination like this. And I'm worried about you.
心配か。本当なら嬉しいな。
Why would I lie? I didn't dislike that make-believe game of yours. I probably would have found another way to kill time, but playing around with you was, well, enjoyable.
本当に？
I'm not lying. How many times do you want to make me say the same exact thing?
ごめんなさい。だって私といて愉快って思ってくれるなんて嬉しくて。
I don't want you to disappear on me, Michiru. I'd find that pretty unpleasant.
困る？どうして？
Cause you're fucking Michiru, dude. Come on now. Again, as no joke, fuck all you people, the #1 Michiru fan on Earth. God, it hurts how much of her story is based on how she thinks no one wants her. It's incredibly fucking painful. This is seriously the last time I'm gonna repeat myself, because the time I spent with you wasn't half bad. I take Michiru by the shoulders and look her straight in the eyes. You're living in the present, Michiru. Don't let yourself get caught up in the past. You can't fix it. What's done can't be undone, but the future's still yours to shape. It's incredibly obvious, yes, but it doesn't hurt to keep that in mind. Right now, your future is on the line, and you need to take control of it. With that said, I kiss Michiru briefly on the lips. She turns down her face in embarrassment and hesitates for a moment, studying the floor as if deciding which words to pick up off the ground.
ありがとう、ユージ。
In the end, she chooses extremely simple ones. Extremely simple, but not half bad. A pretty respectable choice, actually.
ユージがそう言うなら、明日にでも検査に行く。早い方がいいでしょ。
True. Leave the arrangements with the hospital to me. I'll get something worked
あ
out.
りがとう。ごめんね、迷惑かけて。
You're not a nuisance. But if you're feeling guilty anyway, you can show me your gratitude once you're feeling better.
エッチなことで。
No, don't be a dick. Don't be a big old baka. I almost called her a idiot too. I don't even know what that means.
ねえ、できれば明日の朝、早くにここを出て病院に行きたい。
I don't mind, but why?
他の子に見られたら恥ずかしいじゃない。だから、それだけ。5時でお願いします。
Sure, not a problem. For now, you just should get some rest.
わかった。ねえ、ユージ。私、好き。なんて、言わないんだからね。
She delivers this line in such a subdued, quavery tone of voice that I can't help but laugh. Yeah, I got it. Alright then, I'll see you tomorrow.
またね。
Oh, well, looks like I'm gonna end up indebted to Chizuru again. I spend my walk to the principal's office ruminating on Michiru's story. Her tale's still fragmentary, and the plot's tangled. Deciphering it is gonna be difficult. Might even turn out to be one of those books you can spend a lifetime on without ever finding a conclusive interpretation. But even so, I've decided to keep turning the pages. Why? Because it feels like the thing to do. Simple as that. Again, I don't know how long this episode's gonna be. I don't know how any of this is gonna go, but thank you all for watching. I'm sure I'll talk about this a lot more in the next one. Until then, though, guys, I'm gonna go. Thank you. I'm gonna go lay down for a bit. I love you guys. Bye.